The former Tory leader said the EU's Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier is aware that Brexit talks cannot move on to the second stage because the Irish border issue will not be resolved without discussing trade elements. EU leaders are refusing to progress to trade talks until progress is made on the key Brexit issues, including the financial settlement, the Irish border and citizens' rights. Speaking to Bloomberg News, Mr. Duncan Smith said, "I think the EU has got itself in a messy position right now, because in trying to say that these things have to be settled before you move on to trade, what they forget, and they know this by the way, that Mr. Barnier wants to go to trade." Getty Bloomberg Tory MP Ian Duncan Smith said Theresa May is on track in Brexit negotiations. "I understand that the other countries are stopping him because he knows you can't settle the Irish border until you settle what the trade arrangement is." Mr. Duncan Smith said there will be no problem with the Irish border if Britain has a free trade and no tariff arrangement in place in order to access to services. The Tory MP said there is no absolute figure on the Brexit divorce bill because the EU demanded a commitment rather than a figure. He said, "The reason why it's not possible to put an absolute figure on that is because, even within that agreement that we have a legal obligation, it doesn't mean to say that we actually accept the totality of monies that are actually being argued and debated about." Mr. Duncan Smith said Theresa May is pretty much on track, but she is not going to offer anything she hasn't already. Mrs. May was in Brussels for the EU summit on Friday, where she made clear she would be willing to up the Brexit divorce bill to meet the needs of EU leaders and trigger Brexit trade talks. Speaking as she arrived at the summit, Mrs. May told reporters, "These negotiations are continuing, but what I am clear about is that we must step forward together. This is for both the UK and the European Union to move on to the next stage."